Terrific. Just looking back, can you remember a particular point in time when you were growing up when music began to play an important part in your life?
It's been pretty much from the beginning, but mostly when I was in church. You know, I grew up in the gospel church, singing and playing, and listening to my relatives sing and play. My mother was a beautiful singer, gospel singer.
Uh-huh. Looking at some of the artists that may have inspired you when you were younger, can you pinpoint a uniform quality amongst those artists, the ones that really interested you the most?
Probably the albums that my mother listened to, from Sister Rosetta Tharpe to Johnny Taylor, Otis Redding, all the soul singers. She was a huge fan of just singers who, and Sam Cooke, beautiful singers, mostly voices. Aretha Franklin, Mahalia Jackson. Yeah. So those are the albums that era, from the anywhere from the 50s gospel time up into the 70s.
Did you have any formal music training yourself?
Yeah, I actually went to school for music in Waco, Texas. I studied voice, vocal performance, and audio technology.
Wow. What were your plans and ambitions at that point in time?
I really just wanted to learn as much as I could about reading and writing music, which is a prereq for any music degree. And I wanted to learn to play as many instruments as I could. I played banjo, I played drums, guitar, piano, accordion, whatever I can get my hands on. I even tried a little saxophone one semester because I was just hungry for music. And I guess my aspirations was just keep music, just learn as much as I could about every instrument. And as far as audio technology, I figured it's always a good idea to know something about technology and how to run sound for myself once I get out there.
For sure. You spent some time in the U.S. Navy band, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I was a vocalist in a top 40 funk band, of all things. We had ups and horns, and we played for most of the high schools throughout the southeast in the United States, from New Orleans all the way to Keflavik, Iceland.
Looking back on that time, how important now do you rate that in terms of your development as a performer?
Well, yeah, it had a lot to do with where I am right now. Being in that setup taught me a lot about how to tour, and how to even pack for a tour can be a huge huge thing to know. And I toured with 7 men, so that was a huge lesson for me too, and how to not lose my mind on anything else for that matter.
Would you say you were a confident stage performer right from the beginning?
I guess I was. I spent a lot of time in college learning a lot about the craft of how to be in front of an audience and how to carry a show, even when things go wrong, and how to just basic small talk. I did a lot of that in college, so those 3-4 years of just hard knocks kind of paid off once I got to the Navy band, and that shifted to doing a lot of top 40. We performed in front of high schools a lot. So when you perform in front of high school kids, I don't know if a lot of people know this, you have to pretty much know what you're doing, and you've got to be really confident in what you're doing, because these guys will boo you off the stage if you're not.
That's right. They're a tough audience, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, because they know their stuff. These guys, this is what they do. They listen to music when, that's part of, they're growing up. That's what they know.
Tell us about your time on the coffee house circuit in New York. How do you look back on that time now?
Well, the coffee house shows that I did in New York were really about learning the craft of songwriting. You know, I went from learning about how to read and write music and technology and to learning how to tour, and then I wanted to concentrate on how to write and different aspects of writing and learning how to write with other people. And that's what I used that time for in New York. I learned a lot about the craft of songwriting.
It was during the time you were there you got the call where you were needed back home to be with your mother. Did you put the guitar away completely during that time?
I did. I did put it away completely for about a year. I didn't do much to do with music besides performing in the church. You know, I went back to join my church, and I actually became the key piano player, the musician in my church, because they needed one at the time. And it was a way to just connect with my mother too. I really wanted to. I wanted to be with her as much as I could, and that was a way to do that. So I had another degree in broadcasting that I had worked on while I was in the Navy. And so I worked at a TV station by day, running cameras and sound and anything to do with the control room. And at night I would play, wherever I could, or if I wanted to go out and play a little bit, but mostly in the church. You know, on Sundays I would go and be with my family.
Now, you had a little bit of time with a major label, with Atlantic Records. Did major labels are renowned for not quite knowing how to market some of their performers. How did they treat you?
They treated me really well, actually. You know, I didn't go in expecting a lot. I went in because I got this call from someone from Atlantic Records, and what do you say? You say, well, okay. So I went up there, and I really didn't expect much except that, what these guys offered, which was really just putting their stamp under my picture. And that got me into a lot of key performance places in New York. I had a chance to play places that people like Bob Dylan and and Tracy Chapman got their start in, the bitter end. So, you know, it was a huge step for me, and just being able to put my foot in the door and have so many incredible other labels and key producers and all, give them a chance to hear my material.
Yeah. Now, when you came back, you chose to do it independently, starting your own label. Was that your immediate plan, or did you firstly look around for another label to become attached to?
I didn't really have a plan for music when I moved back to Texas. It just kind of fell in my lap. I something happened when I was working at the TV station. I ran into frustrated musicians working in broadcasting. So I found myself surrounded by musicians again, and we would get together and play a little coffee house, and I guess that's kind of how I got back into it. Kind of got talked back into singing and fronting a band that needed a singer. It just really kind of grew from there.
I read somewhere where you at one stage had ambitions to be a poet. Is it the lyrical aspect of your songwriting that appeals to you the most?
You know, when I'm having a really good day with writing, sure. But I've never really looked at myself as a strong lyricist. I spend so much time correcting myself until it's ridiculous. But I do love poetry. And in fact, I'm bringing a little bit of Yeats with me on the way, on the trip. So I've always loved Maya Angelou and Gwendolyn Brooks, Nikki Giovanni. I've seen her speak on many occasions. I love poets who just tell it like it is, and poets who actually write the way I like to sing, rhythmically.
Yeah.
Just love reading poetry.
What aspect of your songwriting do you labour over the most?
Starting. These days, it really is about just sitting down with the guitar. I had about 15 minutes with the guitar tonight, and that's not, and that's just personal time, not including being on stage. I've had a lot of tours this year. I'm doing a lot of big tours, and coming to Australia is the biggest of all for the beginning of the year. So getting a chance to sit and write is a real treat for me. So just getting started, picking up a guitar on my own time is huge for me.
Is it a extensive editing process you go through when you are writing?
Not really. It's just kind of, sometimes it may be a title that I start with. It may just be a feeling, and I'll just play around with the guitar until it matches. I can find a riff or something that matches a chordal structure that matches what I'm feeling, where I'm going, where I'm coming from, and it just kind of.
Has the method or procedure that you go about writing changed over the years?
Yeah, it does, and I think that's what New York did for me. Was it taught me so many different ways to write a song. It can start from a title. It can start from just listening to someone else's story on the phone. I got a call from a really good friend just about 15 minutes ago, and she just won the lottery. So to me, that was like, and she won a lot of money. And so I'm thinking, well, here's a person who was really, really needing this to happen. And there's so much beauty in this person coming into such a blessing, such joy. It's feelings like that get me going, get my juices going, and I want to pick up a guitar and express that.
You've had some fantastic press for your work in recent times, and to top it all off, you've been billed as phenomenal on your most recent album title. Is that a title you're comfortable with?
It's been a title that I'm learning to walk with. It's pretty tough that call yourself phenomenal, but I think the word phenomenal really kind of came from the Maya Angelou poem, which the song was based on. We wanted to kind of play off the words of that particular tune. And this album has been about my own personal growth too. And I think if you listen to it as a whole, you can see that and you feel that. And in that, I've connected with so many people who have gone through the same thing. Each song means something different to everybody. And I think it's the most personable album I've ever done. And I'm real proud of it for that reason. So, yeah, I have no problem walking in with that word wrapped around me, because I think it gives other people permission to do the same, to just step out and be who you are.
For
Magnificent.
sure. For sure. It is certainly a very personal piece of work. Has it taken this time for you to become comfortable enough to reveal so much of yourself in song?
Yeah, it's taken everything that's ever happened to me to get to this place and to be able to call myself that and to be able to put a group of songs together that says that. Yeah, definitely.
I read another interview with you about this album where you said during the recording process you learned about keeping out of your own way. Can you explain a little bit more about what you meant by that?
Well, keeping out of my own way is kind of what you hear so much about people saying that you're your own worst critic.
Uh-huh.
And I know a lot about that. And sometimes I think I did get in my own way. I didn't even need any help to mess up for a while there. So many areas of my life and music. I would just trip over my own feet, trip over my own words, trip over my own mess. And then, like some people do, you you want to punish yourself for that. Well, I've grown out of that. I know now that, stuff just happens. Things happen. Sometimes something really, not so great may happen, but you have to learn from that and learn how to walk forward, walk through it. Not necessarily wait for someone else to pull you out of it. You've got to walk through it some way, walk up, around, but you've got to get through it.
You're going to be playing a few festivals while you're down here. Do you find festivals a good means of attracting new audiences because you're playing to people who haven't necessarily come specifically to see you?
Oh, I love doing festivals. Yeah, the festivals are always a treat for me because I get a chance to discover other types of music and other artists too. In a lot of ways, festivals can be a way to as a musician, to have a reunion. You get a chance to see someone you really, you haven't had a chance to see in a long time. So, and I love playing for large audiences like that who don't even have a clue as to who I am, and you watch people. I can stand up on stage and now just watch people's faces change as my set grows and as my set goes on. And I can feel when I'm really connecting with someone who came there with no expectations, or even some other, thinking something else, thinking they were going to hear something different. I love watching people's faces just light right up. Yeah, it's a real joy to watch.
I believe there's a particular Canadian festival where you set some kind of a CD sales record. Yeah,
I did. The Vancouver Folk Festival in British Columbia. I wasn't invited to play main stage, but I played every chance I got on the side stages, and I sold over 1,000 CDs in a weekend.
That's amazing.
I ran out of CDs. I broke Ani DeFranco's record. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's an achievement, yeah.
I love it.
Talking about your shows down here, are you bringing the band with you, or are you playing solo?
I'm coming solo this time, and but I can make a lot of music all by myself. Trust me. But I look forward to bringing the band as soon as I can. I love to be able to come back.
Yeah.
Here I am planning another trip before I even got there. Before even there, that's pretty.
Well,
but, I'm looking forward to it.
Outside of America, where are your best markets?
Probably Canada.
Yeah.
Definitely Canada. I just returned from a trip up there 2 weeks I think we started in Manitoba and worked our way to British Columbia. And, Canada's been a wonderful market for me. And I enjoy playing the festivals up there as well.
Fantastic. And after you leave us here in Australia, what are your plans for the rest of 2008?
Well, I've got plans to go into the studio and try to do some recording this summer or late spring. So that's going to be the next big step. I'll still tour, but I'm going to take a little bit of time to get back in the studio and try to do this again. Wow,
another album.
Yeah.
That would be even more phenomenal.
Let's hope so.
Ruthie, thanks so much for your time. There's a lot of buzz and excitement down here about your visit. We're really looking forward to it very much.
All right, thank you. I'm glad we're connected.
Got my tickets already, and I'll be there to see you front and centre.
All right, come up and say hi. Let me know you're there.
Will do. Thanks again, Ruthie.
Okay.
Have a safe flight.
I will. Thank you.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.